what happened, okay? This week on the internet, the Oregon City Police Department in Oregon posted a picture online with a thank you note to Benchmade Knives. And the picture was of Benchmade Knife Company, which is a major knife company. A lot of us own and carry Benchmade knives, cutting up guns at the request of the Oregon City Police Department. That's the short version. It didn't last long. The post got taken down, but before it did, screenshots were made. They started being shared, and people are going, WTF, what's going on here? Benchmade Knives. Hey, you're one of us. What are you doing cutting up guns? And then it just went crazy. It went, as they say, went viral, but it went viral in an ugly way, with people screaming and hollering, and the villagers were running around with pitchforks and torches and, calling for people to be strung up practically. And then they started digging further, and they find out, about political donations of Benchmade knives, and they're posting all of that, and it's everywhere. And this happens, as it has many times before, over the course of not weeks, not days, but hours. And it blows up, and it's another one of these case studies of what can happen. To their credit, Benchmade Knives reached out to us and said, hey, can we come on? We want to talk about this thing. I said, absolutely. So joining me right now is Matt Elliott. He is the Director of Marketing for Benchmade Knives. Matt, thank you so much for reaching out, and thank you for being here.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to do it.
Okay. How did I do with that description? Was that kind of what happened there?
Yeah, I think that was a fair description.
Okay, it's kind of like
overview.
It just kind of went boom. It's there. I guess first question is, how long has Benchmade been helping the Oregon City Police Department cut up guns?
My understanding through the investigation that we've been internally conducting is that it's been going on at least a few years, definitely not a decade, but this was an agreement that we made a few years ago with the Oregon City Police Department that on the rare occasion that they ran into a handful of firearms that they were not able to get back into the hands of their owners, which is always, again, to my understanding, their first intent. Mm-hmm. They would then go through a process, and part of that process would be to cut them down to a specific size that would get them into an incinerator, and that is what they had asked us to help with, and that is what people had seen in that photo.
Right. There had been a lot of people thinking that they knew what the deal was on that, an awful lot of that. But one of the things that people kept saying was, the police they're required to, and I think even the police department kind of almost made it sound like we're required to destroy these guns. That's not the case. There's no law in Oregon. They are actually allowed to sell the guns. This police department has made a political decision to not sell guns back into the lawful trade stream, where if they sold them to a gun store, if that store sells it to an individual, the FBI is involved, and so there's a background check. They've just decided as a matter of policy, they're not going to do that. So that's just for those who are saying one way or the other, I just want to get that out there. That's what's going on here. So
that's my understanding of it also as we started to look into it, and I'm glad that you talked with them or figured out directly because I can't speak to their policies.
Sure. Obviously, I take it you guys did not know they were going to be posting this picture, right?
That's correct. That's correct.
What happened internally once this thing started happening? How did you find out about it, or how did it get out that this had happened?
Well, I'd give you a little personal introspective. Even I was on an airplane when my plane landed, and as soon as I landed, I got a text message that said, call me right now. So I called. I think this post went up about 7 o'clock. Plane landed at 7:30. We spent the next 3.5 hours just trying to dig through what had happened exactly in the course of the last, I guess since 1 o'clock when that event was taking place. Things unfolded and that picture got posted. So, honestly, I can understand, especially with no context, a picture like that goes up. Mm-hmm. It's a powerful image. It's a really powerful image, and not one that I think any brand in the shooting sports industry would want to be associated with, especially with no context. Benchmade is company that's extremely committed to our community, and as we have been since the beginning, very committed to law enforcement. So a few years back when they came and asked for help, I think, obviously it was them coming to us knowing that we're the biggest private employer and largest manufacturer in the city. They figured, hey, they probably have the tools that we need to get this done. So.
Yeah, I mean, and I get wanting to help law enforcement. At the same time, you've got this whole, we're cutting up guns, which could be sold to people, at least the ones that are functional and safe. That's just a bad call. Now, it's not Benchmade's call, but it's a bad call on the part of the PD. And I guess, can I safely assume at this point you guys have decided you're not doing that anymore?
Yes, that's true. That's
okay.
true. And what I don't want to make it sound like, and I've been very clear on this with everyone we've talked to about it, is this is not Benchmade versus the police department. We still have every intent of continuing to help our local law enforcement and law enforcement across the nation and worldwide, but especially the Oregon City Police Department. This is definitely just not an activity that we'll be engaging in moving forward, especially after you, as a company, see that kind of reaction from something like this. It's important that we take ownership of that, and taking accountability for it means, and doing the right thing for a lot of our constituency is to say, you know what, it's just not something that we're going to be able to do for you anymore.
Do you know of any discussion that was taking place before all of this within the company of should we do this, or was it ever even a thing?
There's a lot of components of this from an internal standpoint that we're still investigating. So I really can't speak to too much of the internal details. And I think it's important as a company that, we take a united front as a single entity and take responsibility for, the market's reaction and for the activities that we were undertaking and for making the change then moving forward.
And I get that. You're not taking any employees and throwing them under the bus, and that's what a good company does. You own it. You say that's just what we did. I get that. And honestly, I think we could look at that and go, okay, this was a screw up, whether it was or not. It turned out to be that. The problem is the damage is huge, and then people start doing their digging, and obviously that they started digging into the political contributions of Benchmade, and that's the other half of the story, which is they're saying, well, you guys have contributed to liberal Democrats, people who have actually been anti-gun throughout, with no contributions to Republicans for the last several years. And all this is available through Open Secret's website and all the rest of it. And so now everybody's saying, well, what's up with that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm assuming that's a question, and you're wondering what's up with that.
Yes, the question is, what's up with that, Matt?
And I certainly don't mean to sound cavalier about it, because I definitely understand why people would ask that question, and we're happy to help at least provide some more information and context to it. And what we're talking about here is a knife manufacturing company, and one in a blue state. So we generally are represented by Democrats, be it in the House or the Senate. Mm-hmm. So in that case, especially on the manufacturing side, there are some of those representatives that support education and manufacturing jobs and making sure that we have continued support of our ability to manufacture in Oregon. If you're not familiar, which I'm assuming you are, Oregon is also a hotbed for knife manufacturing. So for most politicians, they generally take a pro-knife stance. It's just a typical thing for an Oregon politician. So there's that component of it. So the particular donation in question is about $33,000 over the course of the last 5 years. Over that time frame, we've been working on a piece of legislation called the Interstate Transportation Act. And what that is effectively is it is protection that would be granted to people for knives like automatic knives that would allow them to take it from one state where that knife was legal across a state where it was not legal into another state where it was legal, much in the same way that, there's that protection granted to guns and firearm owners. It has not passed yet. We've been working on it for the course of some time, and this is an effort on our part to reach across the aisle and make sure that we also have continued Democratic support of this bill. It passed in the Senate last year and then failed in the House. We're planning on reintroducing it this year. And we want to make sure that, we're continuing as a knife company to support people's ability and their rights and legalities around the carry of knives. Benchmade has always been committed to that. When I started with the company 10.5 years ago, there were only 3 states that allowed the carry of automatic knives. That was Oregon, Arizona, and Florida, and today it's more than 50% of the states.
Does Benchmade sell, Benchmade, you make automatic knives, what are commonly known as switchblades, right?
Yes, very much.
Do you sell those to regular folks like me?
There is an interstate commerce law, federal regulation, that does not allow us to ship automatic knives across state lines to civilians. We sell them to dealers, and then the dealers can sell them. We can also sell them to people who are public safety. That's law enforcement, military, and then we can sell direct across state lines.
Okay, I'm going to weigh in on the Interstate Transportation Act. I think it's a terrible bill. I hope it never passes, and I think you guys are wrong to an incredible extent to be pushing that. I'm just going to tell you right now, it's a bad bill. It's going to get people arrested, and it's even so bad that Dianne Feinstein supports it. Just is. The Interstate Transportation Act, what it does is it basically recreates the Firearms Owners Protection Act of 1986, a horrible bill that's been gutted by the courts, and even the NRA is trying to get it fixed. And if ITA gets passed, even the NRA says this is going to undermine our efforts to fix one of these important gun bills.
Well, it sounds like it's got some definite complex dynamics on the gun side, and it's something that we should take a look at on the knife side as well to see if it carries those same implications.
It does, exactly. And here's the thing. If you're talking to the right people, the phrase that you really need to know and you have to have at the front of your brain is right of action. The problem with the Interstate Transportation Act.
Did you say right of access?
Right of action, ACTION.
Got it.
That is part of the U.S. Code 1983. That has been taken out of the ITA. That part still remains in the Knife Owners Protection Act, which was the first bill like this introduced, and then the knife industry group, ATKE, copied it and then kept watering it down and watering it down and watering it down until enough Democrats would support it. And now it becomes not only not as good, it actually becomes dangerous because it's going to tempt gun or knife owners to think they can carry interstate, just the way gun owners have been tempted to do that. And then they get arrested in New York and New Jersey where the courts have said, we don't care. We're going to do whatever we want to. If you don't have the right of action part in the bill, then there's nothing that you can do when you're arrested to try to go after the state. Leaving that out, well, it does get Dianne Feinstein on your side, but it also lets knife owners be arrested with no recourse back to the states. I'm also going to throw this one out here, Matt. The lobbying firm that you guys have been using, it's a leftist group. Up until recently, their biggest client has been Planned Parenthood. I understand they're in tight with the Democrats, but I think therein lies part of the problem with this bill. So, I would suggest that there's a need for you guys to do some serious analysis of who you're linked up with, who you're lobbying with, and this reliance on this ITA, I think, is a really seriously bad idea. I've been covering this since the passage of the 1986 Firearms Owners Protection Act. I know how bad it is. And when you come in and tell me this is what we want for knife owners, I'm going, no, do not do this. We have a better bill that fixes all that. The NRA has been working with us on this other bill. You guys need to get off this wagon train, I'm telling you.
Okay, well, I can appreciate that.
All right, well, I just I know that you may not know that, and you've been told this is a great bill. It's not. I hope sincerely that this Interstate Transport Act does not pass because it will set up a number of knife owners to get arrested. Just that's the fact of it. Matt, I appreciate you being here. I appreciate you taking the time and being willing, to get out in front of people. I know people are wanting to see more concrete action on the part of Benchmade. I know that people are saying, okay, where are your Second Amendment donations to NRA, donation to the Second Amendment Foundation, and we'll all be looking. We're going to, see what happens here because I think you guys have taken a hit, and some
Sure.
part of it may not be warranted, but at the same time, I think probably you guys need to take some action here.
Yeah, well, I think Benchmade from the beginning, I know Benchmade from the beginning has not only been in support of law enforcement, but also has been in support of people's rights to carry. And the contributions that the company has made to the shooting sports industry and to pro-gun organizations, whether that's through discounts to members, donations for funding, financial support of youth programs, co-branded knife lines, memberships, or simply to the supply chain of the industry, has been consistent throughout the course of our history and to the tune of millions of dollars.
Okay. Well, I checked before we went on. I just checked with the Second Amendment Foundation. I know you haven't done anything with them. Maybe you've done some things with the NRA. Again, I appreciate it. I thank you for being on, and we will see you at the NRA show.
Take care. Bye-bye.
All right. You bet.